Okay, let's just jump right into it. We're going to break down one of the most famous and honestly one of the most chilling two-sentence horror stories ever written. We're going to pick it apart, piece by piece, to see what makes it just so unbelievably effective. So it kicks off with something we all know, right? A kid, his dad, the classic bedtime ritual. It's this moment of just pure, relatable innocence, and it pulls you right into a world that feels completely 100% safe. The dad's just playing along, to make his son feel better, and that simple little act makes us feel secure too. And then, boom. In a single sentence, the entire floor just drops out from under you. The impossible happens, and your sense of reality just fractures. That cozy, safe world is completely shattered because he sees his son under the bed. But wait, his son is also on the bed. All of a sudden, you're not just reading a story anymore. You are trapped right there in the father's nightmare with him.
So what is going on here? I mean, how can just a couple of sentences create a chill that sticks with you for that long? Well, it is no accident. This story is like a perfectly engineered little machine, and it was built for one single purpose: to scare you.
All right, let's start digging in. Our first clue is the structure itself. And what's so wild is that the real power here isn't just in the words you read, but in everything that's left unsaid. This story is an absolute masterclass in what's called microfiction. It's this whole art form that's all about stripping away every single thing except the bare essentials. There's no fluff, no padding, zero fat. Every single word has a job to do, and man, it does that job brutally well.
There's this author, David Gaffney, and he kind of lays out the rules for this stuff. First, you jump right into the middle of the action. No long, boring intros. Second, you keep the cast of characters tiny, which really helps ramp up the intensity. And third, it's all about the editing, just chipping away at the story until only this perfect, terrifying little sculpture is left.
Now let's move on to our second clue, the psychology. Because look, the structure is brilliant, but that's only one piece of the puzzle. The real gut punch comes from where this all goes down. And this really gets to the heart of what makes psychological horror so effective. The scariest things don't happen in some spooky castle or a dark forest. The real terror is when something impossible, something that is just fundamentally wrong, invades the safety of our normal, everyday lives. This story just brilliantly weaponizes our own sense of security. It takes what should be the safest place in the entire world, a child's bedroom, and it twists it into an absolute trap. It's tapping into that ancient fear of the doppelganger, the evil twin, but it's more than that. It's the horror of the familiar becoming strange, and it creates this crippling confusion that our brains just can't resolve. And all of this builds to the final masterstroke, the ending. Because this story doesn't just scare you and then let you go. Oh no, it leaves you holding the horror all by yourself. This is a perfect example of what's called an unsettling ending. There's no neat little bow on top, no explanation, no resolution. It just stops, cold, and that forces your own brain to imagine what happens next. And let's be honest, that's almost always worse.
The story gives you zero answers. It only leaves you with these absolutely terrifying questions. Which one is the real kid? And maybe more importantly, what is the other one?
And what does the dad do now? The two sentences are over, but the actual horror, that's just getting started inside your head.
So when you pull all these different pieces together, you start to see they don't just work on their own. They combine to create a perfect storm of terror, all packed into just two little lines.
The formula is actually pretty clear, and it is devastatingly effective. First, you've got that super tight language for a quick, sharp shot of horror. Then, you have the supernatural just crashing into a totally normal place, which completely wrecks our sense of security. And finally, that unresolved ending makes sure the horror sticks with you long after you've finished reading.
And really, that's the whole point, isn't it? Like David Gaffney says, the last line isn't the end. It's supposed to stick with you, to echo.
And this reveals the ultimate secret. The best horror stories, the ones that really get under your skin, they don't just show you a monster. They give you the pieces, and they force you to build it inside your own mind.
Which really makes you think. Maybe the scariest monsters aren't the ones under the bed after all. Maybe, just maybe, they're the ones we build ourselves and the ones we carry around inside our own heads.